Hi, I'm Tom Burgess, and I'd like to welcome you to the second episode in our new series of The Real Agenda America, where we focus on issues specific to the United States. We're so pleased to find that 47% of listeners to the Real Agenda Network are in fact in North America. So now you have your own new show especially for you. Do I sound American? No. I'm originally from London, England, but I did spend 7 years in the San Francisco Bay Area of California, where originally I was advising technology companies on global communications. But then I wrote a book, and it was called From Here to Prosperity, A New Political Agenda. And I also worked on the Bernie 2016 campaign. Plus, I was on the national organising team for a new People's Party. And then we went on an RV tour across the wide open spaces of the western states until one day, returning from a short trip to Europe, I was refused entry. But that's another story. So here I am talking to you from Europe. Today's episode is based on an article that I wrote for equitably.org, which has been tracking inequality-related news and views for nearly 2 decades. It's a project of the Institute of Policy Studies based in Washington, D.C., Its website and newsletter aim to provide information and insights for readers. The focus throughout in inequality.org is what can we do to narrow the staggering economic inequality that so afflicts us in almost every aspect of our lives. Now, we all contribute to the creation of wealth, yet we let the wealth that we created, fall into the pockets of a few. A simple but fundamental change to the source of our tax revenue could help change that. Shifting the tax burden off the income of lower income people and onto the wealth of the affluent could help us move towards greater equality. Now, I happened to be in Washington, D.C. when Pope Francis visited in 2015, and where he gave a much applauded address to Congress. Share the wealth, ran the headline to the CNN story on Pope Francis's address to Congress. The Pope told lawmakers that it goes without saying that part of this great effort to deal with the problem of poverty is the creation and distribution of wealth. His message was very clear. We need cooperation and inclusivity. Politics, he noted, cannot be a slave to the economy and finance. Politics must be, instead, an expression of our compelling need to live as one, in order to build as one the greatest common good. The Pope added, I do not underestimate the difficulty that this involves, but I encourage you in this effort. Now, we sure do need encouragement in this effort. The political rhetoric around how we can reduce extreme inequality has typically little to say about practical proposals to help us all have more equal opportunity. But despite the hand-clapping and praise for Pope Francis's speech, what has happened to bring change? Very little. Who has taken his words of wisdom to heart? Very few in Congress. So no change has happened. If anything, it's gone backwards in the last administration. And in the current administration, nothing of substance has been done to get the fundamental problems of why wealth is accumulated by the few and the poor get poorer and those in the middle get stuck there. It is even more important now that the pandemic has brought further hardship for so many and the wealthy are unaffected. But some of the toughest challenges confronting human civilization lend themselves to practical solutions which are often hidden in plain sight. These solutions don't require us to sort of strike through compromises or unravel complex priorities. These policy ideas simply require us to think clearly and act decisively. Now, I focus on one proposal in my book, From Here to Prosperity. Now, this proposal could provide immediate and substantial relief not only to the millions of people struggling to make ends meet, but to all the participants in the shift towards shared prosperity, the wealthy and the poor, and the people in the centre and those at the margins of power. Too much of our contemporary discourse on inequality gets caught up in debates across the left versus right political spectrum. Now, I take a different direction to help reclaim our civilization's noblest ideals, freedom, equality, and the pursuit of happiness. Strategically, this proposal revolves around shifting the source of public revenue from income to wealth. By making this simple move, we would provide immediate and substantial relief to millions of people trapped in poverty without jeopardizing the revenue government needs. The basic theme here is income for me, wealth for we. Let's keep more of the income we earn from our work, and let's share the wealth that we all helped create more equitably. By generating government revenue from wealth instead of income, we could make a major step forward to minimizing economic inequality. The initial step would be to abolish income tax for lower earners, the 75% of Americans who earn below $67,000. The income taxes these Americans pay currently contribute just 5% of total government revenue. Ending income taxes for these Americans would put over $300 billion back into the economic circulation, boosting consumer demand and creating jobs. If this move was coupled with a reduction in payroll taxes, the effect on consumer demand would be even more substantial. These figures are taken from my 2016 book, but not much has changed and they're very relevant today. Now, all the lost revenue from ending income taxes on lower middle-income Americans could be replenished by a new tax on wealth assets. We're all wealth creators, but our system allows only the few to accumulate serious wealth. We need a mechanism to return some of this wealth to the nation and all its people. A simple tax on wealth of 2% on assets of over $3 million would do the trick. These moves, of course, would need to be accompanied by other policy changes, raising the minimum wage to a living wage, for instance. That raise nationally could easily be funded out of corporate profits. Abolishing income taxes for the majority and increasing the contribution to public revenue from those who hold great wealth would cause no hurt and bring great relief. Making these changes would immediately bolster disposable income for most working families, as well as significantly simplify the tax regime, reducing collection and enforcement costs, and indeed minimizing avoidance. The danger from increasing economic inequality and persistent poverty should be at the top of the political agenda. Our approach throughout needs to be inclusive. History tells us that share the wealth initiatives succeed when they have a cross-class alliance behind them. Political will, clear vision, and decisive action could make these changes happen. As Pope Francis said to Congress, we must move forward together as one in a renewed spirit of fraternity and solidarity, cooperating generously for the common good. Now, let us take heed and do the right thing together for the benefit of the many, not just the few. We just need the political will with courageous and compassionate politicians prepared to do the right thing for people over party. So what do you think? Contact us at info@realagendaradio.org or visit our website realagenda.org. We should love to hear your views. My book, From Here to Prosperity, A Practical Policy Agenda for a Sustainable Economy and Greater Social Justice, is available direct from the publishers at shepherdwalwyn.com or from good online and local bookstores. The From Here to Prosperity podcast series is available on the Real Agenda Network. You can listen and subscribe free on all major podcast providers such as Amazon, Apple, Google, and Spotify. If you think you or your organization should be featured on Real Agenda America, or if you are a podcast producer and would like to add your show to our network to boost your audience, then let us know. A special thanks to our sponsors, Reverse Media Group, one of the fastest growing search and media companies. Find out why at reversemediagroup.com. Now, one thing is certain. People want to see changes to a more compassionate and just society, as well as more courageous politicians prepared to do the right thing for people over party. But it's not happening, but it can. It's urgent, and it's up to us to make it happen. That's the Real Agenda, America. I'm Tom Burgess. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.